Hey there, Patapon, Patreon, saucepans, everyone else in between. As you can tell by probably the thumbnail of this video, we're doing something a little bit different again. By which I mean, today I feel like doing a bit more a second serious cow video. I know this is kind of unexpected, so if anyone had a somewhat time sensitive message they wanted to convey, I apologize thoroughly. Um, I hope y'all don't mind if your questions get slopped forward 1 week. I just feel like today I just got some things to work through, and I think that speaking to myself to Audacity here should help out a little bit. I mean, it helped last time, so let's give this another shot. One thing I want to say, yeah, oh, by the way, yeah, sorry about not having a video yesterday. Basically, like, I'm gonna be honest, it's for a very, very selfish reason. Basically, it started out, in the early afternoon, which is when I record, there was, at Combo Breaker, there was the finale of the Guilty Gear Top 8, and I want to watch that, and afterwards I plan on maybe just doing the video after that, but turns out it was the Skullgirl, like, Top 8 after that, so I was like, alright, well, okay, and then I basically spent the whole day watching Combo Breaker yesterday. So yeah, again, apologize, I know that is a very selfish reason to delay a video like this. But I wanted, to be honest about it. I didn't want to hide it. I didn't want to make up any excuse. I figured normally you guys are pretty understanding. But anyway, so I didn't really plan on doing a special Sarah Scow video, which is why you weren't warned yesterday. In fact, the idea, the inspiration, you could say, came to me this morning. Like early this morning while I was in the shower. So it's kind of a sudden, abrupt thing, which I'm aware is kind of scary coming from someone who typically doesn't really do scary, abrupt things. But here we are. Hey there, everyone. This is raocow. How's it going? So today, I mean, you probably saw because depending on how I'm going to name this video, but. Today we're going to be doing, I'm going to be looking a little bit at my history with art. It's kind of funny, because I've been feeling kind of weird about my output lately. Anyone who has been following me either on DeviantArt, username raocow, or on Tumblr, username fastforward, be aware there's, fastforward is misspelled, ASTFOW ARD, no space, no underline, no anything, all in one word, all small letters. People might have noticed that my output has diminished quite a while, quite a bit, I should say, quite a bit. Used to be that I would make a comic page like every day, then every weekday, but at some point I just kind of stopped without really, forewarning or anything. And it's something I kind of want to explore my headspace a little bit about. And I guess, as always, I like to start from the very beginning. So let's start from the very beginning. I mean, like a lot of people, I've started, liking to draw and drawing a lot in childhood, which is the case for a lot of people. Like, drawing is just a thing that most kids will engage in. What's the differentiator is when the high school begins, because like when you become a teenager, when you become more aware of the world around you, like basically there's gonna be two things that are gonna happen. Either you're gonna realize that what you're drawing is terrible, and you're just gonna stop and focus on verbs that you're actually good at doing. Or you're gonna keep working on it, and hopefully you'll turn good. I mean, like, it's a very, very, very obvious little dual option there, but I don't know. I feel like it has to be done, and I was part of the peeps, I guess, who decided on the art direction. I don't think I have a whole lot to say of my relationship with the art world during, like high school town. Just that in general, well, I mean, okay, that's not exactly true. The fact that I always had an art class, and actually two art classes in my last 2 years of high school, contributed a lot to me just staying in school, essentially. I believe that, like, I would always show up super early at art classes, and, I would actually casually talk it up with the art teachers. There were two of them, and I was on pretty equal term. Like, I didn't favor one or the other. And I think in general they like also talking about art stuff with me because when you're a teacher, it's always refreshing to know that a student is way into what the hell you're doing. In addition, like for a lot of people, art class translated to with basically recess number two, except for an hour and a half instead of 15 minutes. Yeah. um, but I wouldn't say I took art seriously, but I did have a lot of fun in it. I mean, I never really took anything that was called schoolwork seriously at all, and that still continued, but I guess because I don't know if I had a talent, but people were telling me that I was talented. I don't know if y'all understand the nuance I'm putting there, but teachers said I was good, and my classmates had a form of respect for whatever it is that I was constructing in any given art class. So for the most part, I considered myself fairly talented. Then you got that going, and so which ironically I think meant that I was putting less effort into a lot of art projects, like because I just assumed, I'm good at this. I don't need to try if it's not something that interests me. So you would have some projects where I was just doing literally whatever, and I just assumed, it's gonna be good. Peeps like what I do. Except I would apply myself to projects that I was interested in. And I think I could tell a difference. I think, but anyways, I left high school basically with that attitude, and so began my college years. I don't think that attitude never really left me. Of course, now I was surrounded with relatively equal peers, versus how in high school, I was surrounded by peeps who more or less took it very seriously. But I think that in college I really started to appreciate. Although, I was way into the practical building of images and, other like paintings and whatnot. I was very interested by art history too. Seeing the ideas of past people really helped me out. And I mean, honestly, one of my biggest point of pride is when I realized that like you got a lot of people who see something like a Pollock work, pure abstract in a museum, and you got the kind of cliche comment of, oh man, my kid, they could do that and they would sell it for free, not for $10,000. When I realized the meaning of these paintings and what they're actually doing, and how you can differentiate between, a very good abstract work versus literal garbage spread on canvas, I don't know, it was kind of a weird point of pride, I guess. And yeah, I think that's like when I started to consider to put more energy in my schoolwork was pretty much then, which is it's a good thing because college was one thing. University though, that's when in college, like remember, so just a reminder. In Quebec, you got high school, then you got cégep for 2 or 3 years, depending on what you're going, which I'm deciding to translate here as college to make it easier. Then afterward, you've got university, which is like university anywhere, pretty much-ish. No, yeah. Why ish? No, well, there's nuances. Let's go with ish. Uh, so, I don't know where I'm going with this, but during all this time, I kept, I got better, or at the very least, now that I had teachers who were willing to call me out in some of my terrible habits and some of my just terrible images sometimes, but I've learned from it. I was still top of class during college and any university classes that require like drawing, sketching, printing, painting, even sculpting. I believe in university, I was pretty much I wouldn't say I was the number one student, but I would always put myself somewhere in the top five, which, given the actual efforts I was putting in, sometimes perhaps not the best thing in the world, but here we are. That's what happened. I was always whenever art critic, so for anyone who never experienced this, if you're going in a creative type major, a big thing you're going to be starting to do when it's very hard to do is this whole group critic thing, where basically, there was a work to do, everyone puts it all up on front or something. In the worst case, it's all one at a time. And the teacher's like, yo, alright, tell me stuff. Do a critic of the work. It always starts on the first year, and it's always the absolute worst thing, because no one wants to say anything, especially at first. It takes a lot of guts to step up, because they're your peers. What do you know more than your peer, right? I tended to be one to speak out, although it always took a little bit. But by third year, I was very outspoken, and I'd actually go, around all over the place, and basically sometimes offer my opinion without it necessarily being asked of. When I started my class, when I returned to school in graphic design, I already had that out of my system. So by first year, I was very, I wouldn't say talkative, but I was very open whenever critic and whatnot feedback was asked. But I I was in my 20s versus a group of peeps that were in their 17, 18, 19s. It's not a big difference of ages, but it's enough. That's enough to I don't know, to have some kind of sense of, oh man, it's hard to put in words. I don't know where I'm going with all this. But basically, for all this time, to me, during all this period of time, it never was a problem, so to speak, to create an art object, whether it be a drawing, a painting, whatever. A prof would just say, yo, do this. And sometimes, the do this was extremely vague. It was especially, at some, my painting 300 class, the last project was basically, yo, just do something, and it's gonna go in the school exhibition. Fart. So, very open sometimes, and I didn't really have a problem getting something out there. So I guess what took me almost 15 minutes to say is, by then, art was still fun to do. I'm using the word still here. I realize it just kind of come out of nowhere, and it's kind of worrying me, but that's kind of what I'm trying to speak out loud to myself about, so to speak. Anyways, yeah, so, yeah, I passed, I got through college, I got through university, I got a framed paper that's written all up in Latin on it, so I don't actually know what it says. I kind of have to believe hearsay there about me having worth in something, I guess. And then, you can't... I still didn't feel confident in terms of looking for work. and then I returned back to college in graphic design, where I spent 2 years. It's a 3-year college degree, but I lasted 2 years. Because in the second year, I very clearly noticed that I was transforming every single project. Doesn't matter if it was making a logo, doesn't matter if it was making a poster, doesn't matter if it was making a menu, doesn't matter if it was making, like, a header for a letter. I transformed every single project, or I tried my best at the very least, to interpret it in such a way as to instead being an illustration project. So basically, I just spent all my time drawing something, and then just kind of putting it there and using my basic knowledge of lining stuff, which basically is what graphic design is. Like, if you're gonna summarize it in the meanest of way possible, it's aligning stuff. It's making a grid and putting things on a grid, basically. So yeah, but and I mean I realized this, and as you know, as the class was going forward, I realized that illustration isn't what this was all about. Like we were heading second year, in my fourth term, because there's 2 terms per year. Like we have projects like, okay, do this like 20-page booklet about typography. And I mean, at this point, I realized that, yeah, okay, this might not be where I want to be at. Like, design a new kind of juice box. And, okay, like, just heads up, just a little something on the side. There's a genetic thing that I forgot the name of, but that I probably got, even though I never got formally... I never got formally, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, labeled with it or whatever, because it is a relatively recent-ish thing. Anyways, where basically, I do not have a lot of fine dexterity with my fingers. I got enough to play, like, video games and whatnot, but if you're asking me to fold paper, I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna put down... like 500,000% of my concentration in there, somehow, defying physics and statistics, and it's still gonna end up all weird and crooked. And, it will look like I have put no effort or anything, but it's just gonna happen that way, and I can't help it. I don't know why. I cannot do very fine manipulation of objects. I can... And actually, that's kind of a funny thing, because if you... Okay. Yeah, because if you ask me to draw, a trompe-l'oeil sketch of a human face, a trompe-l'oeil, in other words, like a very, very realistic, draw as real as possible kind of sketch, I know the means to do it, but I probably wouldn't be able to do it because of this. Throughout a lot of my education, thinking about this dawns all the way back to high school. I was mostly praised for my ability to convey emotion through pen or brush strokes, more so than precision. So I probably would make a very bad, let's say, like animator or something where your art needs to be very precise, in very specific shapes, multiple time. But yeah, I was mostly praised for the ability to convey emotion through artwork. Yes. Where was I? I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, graphic design, like, they don't really care. Like, more often than not, in reality, in graphic design, you're gonna be given already made artwork, already made images, and your task is to put them all up together. Of course, you're gonna be doing some photoshopping, you're gonna be doing some alteration so that it fits the overall design, but it's not supposed to be your main task. So I talked with, like, the head department guy, using very precise terminology here. And we basically agreed that, yeah, my space was more in illustration than in graphic design. So with everyone's permission, basically, I dropped off and became a freelancer. Um, I feel like I need to go back a little bit to my university years, because everyone there, like all the profs with whom I had, a relationship beyond I show up, I do a work and slash or I listen to. Well, okay, like all the theory classes, I was basically just I show up, I listen, and then I take a test at some point, and or I'm gonna give away a paper. But in my all the studio classes, I did end up on at very least a clear enough sort of relationship where we would be basically able to just casually talk and whatnot, which I mean is normal for university, and especially the more creative departments. Of course, like if you're like taking something in accounting and you're a class of 200, like that's not gonna happen. But studio classes at a higher level, we were like 10 per class, so that was kind of, if you didn't manage to have a somewhat casual relationship with your teacher, I'm not sure what you're doing. Anyways, basically all the professors of the art department essentially were very surprised to know that I did not want to go to grad school. Like I wasn't interested in an art major. For one thing, I was very, very, very aware that doing so would not involve creating that many art objects. It would be mostly on the theoretical slash historical side of things. And that's just not really something that interested me. I wanted to be, closer down to earth, kind of doing stuff, which is why I ended up going towards graphic design, I guess. So yeah, after my 2 years graphic design, then I started to freelance in illustration, and yeah, at that point I still like to draw stuff, just even casually. Although I think by that point I stopped drawing casually. I would only really just do stuff when I needed to. So either drawing for my webcomic at a time, which would have been, I've forgotten completely. I hadn't started ATXS by then. Yeah, but yeah. But at this point, though, I believe, I was doing Let's Play. So we're talking in my Monkey Cheese period, probably. So yeah, and I was doing art for peeps. I was trawling websites looking for potential clients, and I was trying to, make basically draw whatever peeps wanted in my fairly, colorful, very energetic style. Just trying to make them, well, not as quickly as possible. But I was trying to do good work as much as I could to as many people. And that's when I start to get burnt a lot. Because what happened, and it's something, that's just, at the time, I wasn't really sure how to deal with this. For the most part, I had this approach where people would tell me what they wanted. I would give them an estimate of probably how much it was going to cost, and I'm going to do it. I would send them a sample of the work, which was basically the work, but at a far smaller resolution than the final work. And then they would send me the money, and then I would send them the full file. That was our arrangement, and for the most part it worked, but a lot of times, and this is what burnt me out, turns out that running around after money happened way more often than it should. Several times, after I gave the person their sample, I just literally never heard from them again. and I just couldn't really take it after a while because like that kind of it's hard to describe, but it kind of hurts because it's all this time. It's not just like time making the drawing, the sketch, the painting itself. It's not just the time of that that's lost. But then, it's all the time it takes to run after that person, trying to get in contact, and it's just when do you stop? When do you quit running after them? These are all things that, that I've never actually learnt in any of my education either. It was all stuff I had to learn on the fly, and I don't know, I feel like I should have been, like now, after the fact, several years later, after the fact, I think I should have just been a lot more aggressive about this, and like the sample I would give should have been like a piece or like watermarked or something. Like there's very obvious solutions, but instead what happened was that I entered kind of a depression, and then I started a real like quote unquote real job in being a phone jockey for a telecommunication company. Y'all know about that part of my life. But yes, I'm just wondering if that. So during all this time, I was still working on my comic A2XT, and at some point, me and AOD transitioned over instead to Aricel. Due to various reasons, but it's still kind of the same thing. While I was working at a telecom company, I still tried to draw at the very least a page at least once every weekend. So at least one page a week, if not two. And for the most part, I was able to do it, and it was a lot of fun, I felt. It was kind of disjointed, because it was just kind of all the time. Like, I wouldn't be really doing anything for 5 days, and then jump back and all that, but I could still muster it, and it felt fine. I would say things were kind of stagnant, though, because I was only drawing pretty much my comic. Like, at that time, I officially stopped... Although quietly, I officially stopped accepting commissions because I just did not have the time for it. By doing, the Let's Plays I was continuing to do, in addition to the work that I had to do, the phone work, I just stopped commissions entirely, with the idea that maybe if things would improve, I would turn them back on. Y'all will have noticed that I haven't turned them back on. Yeah, because now we're getting close to the modern day. At some point, I'm not sure what happened, but at some point during the last, I'd say maybe the last 6 months, just the fact of drawing turned from something I happily consider doing as a career, and then happily did as a hobby, but then suddenly, for a while now, it just turned into a chore. Like, just the idea of having a piece of paper in front of me and putting ink to said paper to draw something sounds like the worst thing in the universe, and I'm not sure where that comes from. Yeah. Like, for a while now, like, my habit was I do my video stuff in the morning, I eat lunch, and then I do, I try to work on my comic and try to make pages and whatnot. And it's also the same reason why I officially didn't restart taking commissions. Like, technically, like, I would explain that I am not accepting commissions due to a time aspect of it. And to be fair, that is true. But, like, I mean, if I was in need of money, like, a very urgent need of money, it wouldn't be hard of me to displace a little bit of time to do, like, small commissions and whatnot. It wouldn't be that hard to do. But again, like, just the idea of it in my headspace, it makes it sound like it's the absolute worst, absolute biggest task in the universe. And that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But that's where art is resting in my head right now. It's the same reason why, I haven't drawn anything comic-wise and uploaded in probably 2 months by now. At the end of last week, I did do quick, comic pages, like very simple, like sketch-style comics with demo characters, and I was hoping maybe if I do this, it's gonna it's gonna just kind of unrust me. It's gonna unlock the weird situation here that's stopping me from doing stuff. But then I sit back down again and think about doing a comic, and the same feeling of, ugh, man, I'd rather just, clean the roof using not but a dish rag. And I don't know why. I have no idea why making art suddenly just feels like the worst thing. Fun fact. When I start to do a video, whenever I sit down to make a video, no matter what it is, the game I'm playing, even if it is the super hardest game in the world, and I'm aware that I'm heading into the super hardest part of that game, I'm still never going to even hesitate. I never hesitated once during, Wings of V, never hesitated once during Jump. I sit down, let's go, let's get this done, or to really know, let's see what's gonna happen. Impossible amount of optimism there that at the very least, well, I'm gonna do something that someone's gonna enjoy somewhere. Every time I'm going to start a Patreon video, I kind of sit there and I just kind of like to have to psych myself up a little bit to start, because I'm going to have to draw on open canvas. Sometimes it can take as long as, once I think it took me like 45 minutes to actually get started. I just had everything opened up, and I was like, ugh, and then, then you start to look for excuses, start to look at your email. They're like, is there any new episode of a show I'm watching released? Look at that. There is one, there's an entire level in A2XT2, level some of you might recognize the name of. This level is canon, is the name of the level. I basically did that level from design to making the assets for it, everything, in an afternoon, essentially in order to avoid having to work on my webcomic. I don't understand why. And, same thing, and like I say, I love doing these Patreon videos, but I need to psych myself up to the reality that I have art requests pending, some of them for quite a while. And, yeah. I'm not sure. I think one of the reasons I might have felt down about doing art is I've been on the long kick of just feeling down on everything I have produced art-wise. Now, I'm saying this this is not a stealth request for people to go, no, raocow, I love what you do. No, I don't. I know it sounds like that. I know it's very common for people to go, wow, my art is all poop. I should just drown it all in the fire. In order to fish for compliments, but that's not what I'm trying to do. No, please, I don't need it. I don't, I don't know. I just feel that everything I've done in terms of art isn't actually that good. I can see the qualities of it, but a lot of it is so different from whatever mental image I had that I'm just kind of left wondering, what I've done. And I think this is catching up to me in a weird way. But no, like, I need to remind myself. There are people out there that do genuinely like what I did. I know not long ago, someone on Tumblr, I don't know if it's someone on Patreon, but someone on Tumblr at the very least, was said they were proud to own some of my commission work. And I mean, it's through my webcomic, an old first version of Artificial Time. It's through that I met, AOD, who is now easily one of my best friends ever. And we've known each other for over 10 years, probably, at this point. Although I don't know the exact year, but wait. It was back when I was living on university campus. And, honestly, 2003, 2004. Like, minimum 10 years, but probably more. So, I don't know. I guess maybe I just need to be less selfish. Like, there's a flock of you that made art requests, so at some point, I have to assume you guys like them. Like, I wouldn't be 51 images in debt if people weren't at the very least, a little bit interested in what sometimes I can come up with. I don't know. I guess it's just something I have to keep in mind, I guess. I need to stop being selfish. It's just weird, though. Like, it's not that I mean to be selfish. I do genuinely feel very but I don't know, like, you can't flourish through so many years doing something like that is being evaluated by a very wide variety of people and just, not be doing something correct. I think this is where I'm gonna end the video. I don't know if I've reached an answer to something, but I think I found a way to get there. I want to thank you all for letting me indulge myself a little bit here. I have no idea if this video was of any actual use to anyone. I have no idea if it's actually interesting. I don't know if it was, honestly. But I mean, it does give you a little insight, I guess, a little bit more about the serious me. So I figured it was maybe worth it, because I know some of you people are interested in that. So here you go. But I think it's just something I have to work through myself. And stop just... Like, I have y'all know this, by the way I play games. Sometimes I'm just gonna fixate on something and get the most intense of tunnel visions. And I think this is what I'm happening. I'm tunnel visioning on one aspect of the stuff that I've created over my short history on this planet, which is making me miss the bigger picture. I'm just gonna try and work on that a little bit. Hopefully it's gonna help. Hopefully this little talking I had with myself is gonna help a little bit. Again, thank you / my apologies for letting me do this. Next week is gonna be a regular video. So again, sorry that everyone's questions got displaced a little bit. I hope y'all don't hate me. Thank you very much, everyone, for being there, for listening, just for making this possible. And I'll get back with y'all, I guess. All right, man. These are way more awkward to end, aren't they?